Hi everyone, Julie here, and today I'm going to take this gorgeous English grammar composition handbook with the sewed in signatures, and I'm going to turn it into this gorgeous journal. Let's get started. So the first thing you want to do is separate the pages from the spine. So I've got a cutting mat here because you always want to protect your surface. I've got a pair of scissors and a blade. So you're just going to start by cutting through the end papers here and separating everything. Now, this book, I've already taken some pages out of it and I've already ripped into one of the signatures, so it's pretty much already been destroyed. And I loved this book for the cover because of the text blocks, or I don't know if it's typewriter keys, I guess it's text blocks on it, which is really, really cool. So there's one end paper out. You just keep going. I'm going to end up cutting the original spine off anyway, so I'm not going to worry about if I cut into it on accident or not in this particular project. However, I am cutting towards myself, so I'm just taking my time to avoid any injury. So this is not for children. This is definitely a parent or adult working with blade, and you can see how it's starting to separate there. So I'm just going to keep working at it. And when I get through the main paper, can you hear that? Like, you'll know. And the signature block should come out in one piece. So we are almost there because I can see it's pretty much separated at this point. Okay. And you can see there's the book paper. And that's what it looks like. Let's go to the other side and cut this side out the back. And we're just going to do the same thing. It's glued in here pretty good. This side is dripping out and this side is not, so I'm going to try to keep that there. And here is our signature block, and that's what it looks like when you pull it apart. And like I said, I've already ripped one signature apart. Here it is. You can see where I've cut the strings, so these pages are just gonna start pulling out eventually. And they're nice because they do, when you do it like this, when they're sewed in and not glued in, they come out you know, as one piece like that. So that's the benefit of using a sewed signature as opposed to a glued signature, but either one will work for this project, I promise. Okay, so now that we've got our signatures out and our covers almost free, I'm just going to take my scissors, and I like to do the scissors because literally there's a little gutter right here, like you can just cut it. And I usually have my Tim Holtz scissors, but I had packed them for the day, so today we're using some old Creative Keepsakes scissors, which just keep going. And I just cut right down that gutter, and there it is. Looks good. Okay, and so then you've got your spine here. Just throw away any weird pieces because they're not going to serve a function anymore. I'm going to cut the spine off here on this one. Just work your scissors right into that gap in the gutter and then just cut it. Okay. Now it's not a perfect cut, but that's okay because what we're going to do now is we're going to build a new spine for this book. Put some fabric on it. I'm thinking I'm going to, I know this is going to sound weird, I'm thinking I'm going to do the blue on the outside of it. But I guess the reds are just, I don't know. But I don't seem to have enough of the blue anymore. So I think what I'm going to do is run the red then inside. So I'm going to grab some chipboard pieces here that I've got for this kind of project. I'm going to do about a 1-inch spine. I'm going to find me a chipboard piece that's as tall as the book. That was a little short. And this can be a way that you can recycle some of your cereal boxes or old boxes, whatever you have laying around. I'm not really a fan of corrugated cardboard in my spines, but whatever you've got and want to work, it will probably work. So we don't get too picky about it. So that looks like about 1 inch, doesn't it? We'll grab our ruler. It is 1 inch and almost a quarter. 1, 2, 3/8, 1 inch and 3/8. 1 inch and a quarter, maybe 1 inch and a quarter. Okay. You know what? I'm just gonna go with it because I'm just gonna go with it. And then our height is gonna be about 7 5/8. Let's go with that. And all I do is grab my paper trimmer and I go to 7 5/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That one right there. And they just have to be close. It doesn't have to be exact. And this one we wanted 1 1/4. No, I cut the length first. And then we're gonna go to 1 1/4, which is 1 1/4, which is about right there, using the grid marks here on the cutter. Hold it tight and just go for it. And then you should have 3 pieces that are fairly close. Maybe a little crooked. Maybe I should trim some more off that one because it's definitely not the same. And I'm not even going to measure it. I'm just going to eyeball it. Hold it tight. Oh, it moved. Let's see. Okay, that looks pretty good. So I'll have 3 pieces of cardboard glued together. So this is an old envelope that I've been cutting up and recycling. And so my fabric, let me get that to size real quick. Cut it a little bit straighter. Yep, so it's a little bit straighter, and then we want it to be right here. Let's see if it'll rip. Nope, that's not the, what do you call it? Salvage or whatever, I don't know. So we just cut through our dots again, keeping it about equidistant through the cuts. Okay. And then the width, I mean, I definitely don't want this white piece to be on. So I think I'm just gonna snip it here in the first dot and then rip it. And that's gonna be our spine fabric. That easy. It is literally that easy. And so then I want my Tyvek piece to be about the same as that. A little bit less. So we'll cut it right there. And right here. So that's about what we need. And you can put Tyvek on both sides. I generally just put on one and I add it to like one piece. And if I think it's too big, I'll trim it down some more. Don't measure a whole lot, just measure some. So you can see it's a little extra. And then the other thing I'm gonna do then is I'm gonna take a piece of this red and white fabric. And make the inside of the spine. So I'm gonna find the end I've been working off of. I think is it this one? This is just the gingham they had at Walmart, and I just picked it up. And I've been using it quite a bit. So we're gonna get around the same size. So we're gonna cut at this square. And we're gonna rip down about this square. So we're gonna start with our ripping to about that square and then cut it across. It's not rocket science, it's just fabric. If you screw it up, guess what? I've got a whole bunch here to use. Okay, that is what we're going for. So you'll have, basically you'll end up with 4 layers. You'll end up with 2 pieces of fabric, a piece of Tyvek just for strength, and then the actual chipboard that'll be like the strength of your spine, or the hardness of your spine. Okay, so I'm gonna start off with some craft glue. So don't judge me, I had bought this for another project and it's just landed in my craft room. So that's what we're using today for the chipboard. I like to use, when I'm building a spine, I like to use iron-on adhesive too, like Wonder Under brand or whatever. However, I have found that Tyvek melts when you put an iron on it and add heat to it. So I've stopped using ironable adhesive on my spines. And this is a book I'm just building for myself, so I'm really okay with whatever, using what I have. If it's a journal I'm selling, I'm gonna be a little bit more careful and use items that I know are more appropriate. So I'm just adding the liquid nails onto my chipboard. I'm adding my chipboard and I'm squishing it and moving it around, and then also I'm taking it apart and re-adhering it the opposite way. I keep some baby wipes next to me to clean up. So we'll clean our fingers and then we'll clean our chipboard as well. And this is going to have to set up. So I have my brass heart and some weight blocks, bench blocks. I don't know, what are they called? For metal stamping that I pull out and put on there. And also you just have to be careful for slippage, because like you can see that it's it can move in a little bit. But anyway, I'm gonna let that dry, and I'm gonna get my fabric glue, and when I come back we will put it back together. Okay, now we are going to move our blocks off and double check that this is dry, and it is dry, and it's pretty straight too, so that looks good. And we're going to go ahead and get all this glued down together. So literally I'm just gonna make a sandwich of this, and I know that I want the blue on the outside, so I'm just trying to think it through which is the best way to do it. I think I'm just gonna do it like this, sandwich it like that. Okay, so if I do it wrong, then that's how I learn from it. So I'm just gonna get the glue on here. Maybe I'll get the glue on here. The glue will come out. Maybe time to add some acetone to this bottle to get it to run a little smoother. And you want to use, pretty good amount of glue, because that's just, what is going to be the strength of the spine, is the connection of all the pieces. And this is how it connected. And if you're not sure, you can always add some E6000, which I don't have any E6000 right now. So I'm just going to run with my beacon. And I like that. That's good. I can see a nice, or a blue border, like all the way around it. So I know I've got a pretty good thing. So maybe right here, but that's easy to fix. We just snip that corner, and it pulled up too easy. So we'll add a little more glue to all the corners. Because the better glue it down, all the way to the edge. You got the less it'll come apart, the less sloppy it'll look with, peeling edges and stuff. We're gonna put this guy right in here, and I think I'm going to go ahead and use my craft glue again, since it works so good on this. Only thing is I'm not gonna have two pieces to glue together. Well, I guess actually I am, because it'll be the Tyvek. So let's just put it on the Tyvek and wiggle it in, and then lift it and pop it around. I'm just gonna put it right in the middle of my sandwich, and a little bit has come out, but this is gonna be the inside, so I'm okay with it. And I'm going to now add more beacon adhesive to it, and not just the middle, but it needs to go all the way to the edges. And this is going to be like a flexible spine binding, because I'm not putting anything hard all the way to the edge of the book cover here. There's going to be some fabric, just fabric, and these more pliable layers. They're going to allow it to be a little bit more flexible. So I'm just going to smooth it out and get it down in there. It's a little sticky, but that's okay. We're going to grab a brayer somewhere. Here's one. You can see the cardboard through it, so if that bothers you, you can paint the cardboard white before you adhere this or put another piece of tie back in there. But like I said, it's gonna be my spine, so I'm not super worried about it. Okay. So we're gonna let that dry for just a minute, and then we're going to punch some holes in our book cover with my cinch. And the best hint I can give you with the cinch is to always do a sample piece before you cut into your piece. So here's my sample piece. It's got one fairly straight edge, so that's the one I'm gonna go with. So this one is out. Why is that one out? And you're only limited by, how far you really want to go. So I think I'm gonna go like that. My page is not hitting the stopper, but it has a ruler here, so I'm just going to go right to the beginning of my ruler, so at 0 inch, and I'm going to do that. Okay, so that's what it looks like when you do it. So there's that much of a gap on the edge, which I like a little gap, but I need to get that gap or something close to it on this side. So what I'm going to do is go to the last one it'll let me, and there's a little catcher for the hole over here. And I'm gonna put the last hole in the little catcher. Just there, maybe I'll do that, maybe I will. Yep, there I did it, okay. And I'm gonna make sure it's pretty flush. I'm gonna pull this one out and this one out. It looks like it might just need one more hole, but this is always a trial and error with this thing. So let's just do one and see what we did. Oh, okay, so I do need to go one more in. So I'm going to, that's about as close as I want to get, I think. Okay, so we had the catcher in this one. We have at least one more hole here. So let's do the catcher in this one. Okay, I don't want this hole punched because I can see it's lined up here. It's right on the edge. And then the rest of these don't matter. So I'm going to get these two to punch. Here we go. Alright, that's what it's going to look like. If I did one more, let's see where it would be. I can just bend over and kind of look. I'm going to be right there on the edge. I don't like that. Okay, so I'm going to make myself a note here. So the catcher is here. And then we want to pull number 3. And of course I'll investigate it before I actually punch it again, but it's just quick notes to help me remember. Now the other trick I have for this particular machine is to make sure you're doing the right edge. Okay? You have to make sure you're doing it this way and then this way, because that's the front and the back. So you just have to be really careful. You can't do this half asleep like I do most of the time, because it doesn't work out for me. I'm gonna put my thing there, and that's where we're gonna punch, like that. So we're gonna do the whole thing first, lined up at the 0 inch, right? We're gonna get it in there like that. Okay, we're right like that. Gonna make sure all our things are punched in, and That's the right side because this is the edge, that's the cut side. Okay, get in there all the way in. Are you all the way in? That's another thing, make sure it's all the way in. And then you punch it. Wow, okay. And so there you can see our holes. There's a lot of shadow here, sorry. There you can see all my holes except for the top 3. So, I dropped my guide. Okay, so I'm gonna pull my guide back up here, and I'm gonna open this all the way, and I'm gonna say my catcher was in the 4th one. So I'm gonna put my catcher in this one. There we go, catcher's in, and we're gonna pull number 3, and I can see that's gonna be at least a finger's width from the top of the first hole. This one's not gonna hit, so we're gonna go for it. Okay, and there's all our holes punched. And it's fairly even. I have found that oftentimes it's never equidistant from this hole to this hole, but you know, in the grand scheme of things, when it's all said and done, you probably won't even notice much. Okay, now we're gonna do the other one. Now remember, you have to do this one backwards. Let's just trim off some of these loose pieces. So we're gonna do it backwards because when we put them together, we want them to be, you know, insides in and outsides out. So you just have to make sure you're doing it the right way. So start all over, make sure it's all the way in, punch all the way, or pushed all the way to our 0 inch. Make sure everything looks pretty even. Make sure all our nubs are in. Okay, here we go. Okay. Whew. All right, there they are. Looks good. Okay, now this one we're gonna go to our 4th. We're gonna catch it on our 4th hole. Lined up, pull our 3rd one. Okay. Catcher. Okay, now we're gonna punch again, these 2. And there we go. And that's how they line up. Just like that. Okay, awesome. All right, so we're done with the cinch because we're not going to be using any coils to bind it. Basically, I was just doing some major hole punching with the cinch so I could sew it on. Okay, here's our binding again. And what we're going to do is, I don't want to see my holes that I just made. I don't want to see them on the outside. So I'm going to be sewing them like this. Okay, it's kind of cute. You'll see the little bit of red with the blue. I'm going to glue it on. Now I did get this idea from another YouTuber. Her name is Melanie Sullivan. And I will link the video below where I got this sewed binding idea. It's not all 100% her, what she's done with the, I think she was using the actual spine, I think, of the book. And I've just created my own spine. But I got the idea for punching the holes with my cinch from her here and then sewing it on. Okay. I like the raw edge look, but if you don't like the raw edge look, you can always sew it to the inside and then add a trim here. So you would just grab, here I just happen to have this, and you would just, you know, trim it out to cover the holes like that. Okay, so now I'm gonna pick a color to sew it on. I've got my, a jar of floss here. I'm actually thinking some kind of mustard yellow. Somebody has a same color palette all the time. So right there. But you know what? Let's just go with this. Let's just go with it because I can always add to it. I honestly do that all the time. So I'm going to glue this on a little bit. Just like tacking it down kind of thing. trying not to get in the holes, but I think I'm getting into every hole. Honestly, that's okay. Whatever. Okay. Glue to the outside. So I'm gonna just make sure I kind of got a good equidistant. Sometimes you can use the lines in the fabric they've created, and sometimes you shouldn't use the lines in the fabric you've created. Okay, there's something new I want to try tonight that I'm going to take you guys along for the ride. I think I'm just going to leave this one long length. Let's see how it goes. Let me grab a needle. I can thread my embroidery floss onto. I guess it's going to be that big guy right there. I'm just going to go with it. And the other thing I want to do really quick is I have a mass of beeswax here, and I'm just going to run it through a few times just to wax my cotton string, and this will just help preserve it a little bit and make it a little bit stronger and less resistant to hopefully breaking, or should it get wet, you know, humidity, rotting, that kind of thing. So I'm just going to do it just a few times. Okay. I'm going to thread it. And then one more thing I want to do with you guys, which I was saying before I was waxing it, was I think I'm going to add some buttons as I go. So I'm going to grab another jar with some buttons in it, and let's see what we can find here. Okay, let's start with that and see if we like it as we go. Okay, first I'm going to go in, start in the top, and bring it around a few times, at least twice through the hole, I think. And then I'm gonna tie it when I get back around. Okay, I'm just gonna, so you can see there it kind of came off. So I'm just gonna wiggle it back right on top. Maybe. I'm gonna try to wiggle it back on top. Okay, that's pretty close. And then I'm gonna tie it right here. Okay, here's our first stitch on there. So, all right, so now we will, who knows what we're doing here. We're gonna push this through the next one. We're gonna string a button on it. If the button needle will fit through the holes, we're gonna see what this looks like. We might like it, we might hate it, who knows, but we won't know until we try. And let's see if we can get it flat. So it's gonna be there, and then back up into this hole. You know, I don't know, maybe I've messed up with that one there, but that's okay. Gotta go back in, my friend. Let's go back in somewhere. There we go. I like that one. Okay, so there's our, yeah, that's cute. Look at that. Wonder if I should cross it though. Okay, maybe the next one. And then we're gonna go back down in this hole, kind of changing things up here. And we're gonna put another button on. Are these the same buttons? They're pretty close. That's cute. Okay, so I need to start altering the buttons because I don't think I have enough all of the same one. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna have to find an alternative here. So I'm gonna go back in the same hole, maybe. Where are you at? Right in here somewhere. Okay, we'll just go with that. Make sure it's around. out the next hole. And this is not rocket science. If you know a better way to do it, then you should definitely do it your better way. But I'm just kind of going with it right now. Let's see if we find another black one. I guess we don't have to go with all black. Lots of buttons, just not what I'm looking for. Should I do some brown? What do you think? Yep, let's do that one. And maybe even I can find a red one. I don't like maybe this one. We'll see. Okay, back in the same hole. Okay, that was up in the same hole and back down in the same hole. You can see that there. And then we're gonna go to the next hole. And if you don't want to put buttons on every single one, you don't have to. Let's do the red one. Let's see what that looks like. I'm digging the buttons though, honestly. Just make sure your needle will go through the buttonholes. Down through the same hole. So you can see this is a little bit of process, and it would go faster if I wasn't putting buttons on it, but I am. So again, I'll be back when we're done, okay? Okay, when you get to the end, you want to do it over. I think I'm doing it 3 times just to make a nice catch for the fabric and the cover and the thread, and then you'll just tie it off, knot it off. So I'm just going to come over and just go under one, and then I'll go under both and make sure I come up through the loop and tie that knot. And there it is. And I had just enough yellow thread to make it, and that's what it looks like with the buttons. It's a little quirky and funny, but that's okay. It's got the loose spine, or the fabric spine, and I'm gonna put some signatures in here, and it's gonna be great.